Okay, so we're going up the ladder here in the little C box here. So it's just right here with my hand, where my hand is. Okay, it's the C where you play a C chord. All right, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 root 2. We're going to call that an S3L right here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 root 2, and then on top of that is a single string shape, C string shape 3, 4, 5. That is an entity in itself, and you'll see that once we reduce the scales to 5 chord entities, or 5 string shapes I call them, we can put those string shapes together and play them anywhere on the guitar. So that C shape is S2L, then S3L, and then just an S1C on top. S2L, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 root, S2L, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, warp up 7 root 2, warp up a half, one fret to the right, because this is a tuning third here to keep the pattern. The pattern is done in all fourths. No matter where you look on the pattern, see here's root, here's a fourth. Everything's in fourths. See here's 5, a fourth up from 5 is root. No matter where. So you have to bring the pattern up when you hit that second string from the top. So it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, warp up, 7 root 2, and then a C shape, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's how we play that diatonic. But guess what? We could play that in a long pattern, okay? Because when we get to, let's say we get to the next pattern up, so a fourth up from the C box, a fourth up in large pattern fourths. Now, this is the circle of long pattern fourths. We just looked at it. C goes to E on that circle. It's because when we put a long pattern on the C box here, it's actually, the rule is going to be the long pattern is equal, or in this case of C, shorter by 1 fret than 2 short patterns in the cage system. So C, here's your short pattern that we just played, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 root 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 root 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the next shape up in the cage circle is the A box. Okay, the D and the E are the fourth and the fifth of A. So A, fourth is D, and the E is the fifth shape. Alright? So here's the length of the first two cage short patterns is longer or equal to the length of the long pattern. Let's look at that C long pattern. We're going to use two patterns. We're going to start this pattern and we're going to play the top 3. You see how the S4L is kind of sinking down? Because the bottom part of it is actually in the no string, no play zone. We don't have a 7th string. For traditional people like to count the strings from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We don't have a 7th string. If we did, it would be a complete S4L there. So it would be like this. The whole pattern box would be like that, because we would include, we'd want to include the whole box. But in actuality, the S4L itself would be like that. Okay, but we're not going to play the bottom string. We're going to start on 3. So it goes back to, do we know our patterns? Do we know what an S3L is? S4L rather. So let's bop over there to the pattern zone again and let's look at S4L. I got it right here for you. Here it is, little old S4L, but this is a big pattern. This guy is the game changer. I'm telling you, the S5L is wonderful. If you can play it, I just call it the G pattern. But when you hit that G, you know how many times people are going to hit a G chord? Because guess what? A G chord is hard to play. It's hard to play a G chord. Starting on E here, E is the 6th of G, so it starts on 6 here. A G chord is kind of hard to play. It's hurting me because I hurt my wrist. I don't know how. But with this G pattern, you can just outline that G there. And what's going to happen is the 3, 4, 5 is going to warp over one fret, so it's going to do one of these. It's going to go over one fret because it's a 5-string pattern, right? The 5th string there, or the second from the top, is going to warp over, and then what's going to be on top? Our 6, 7 root again, which is a G shape, and believe it or not, that's part of the pattern. I believe when we're doing the G box, we add the G string shape up there, S1G, 1 string G shape. Okay, so that's our G pattern. It's no longer a pattern now because it's not all forced tuning here. Here's your tuning third between string 3 and 2, or 4 and 5 from the bottom. Now I'm mentioning from the bottom because I'm more comfortable now using the other convention, calling the top string number 1, the high string, the high strung string. It's actually physically lower because you're looking at it upside down. So that G pattern then goes, it's so easy for diatonic. Now we warp up the 3, 4, 5. Sorry, I did a Mixolydian. There's your Ionian. Okay, there's your G Ionian, but actually starting from that 6, people could argue that is an Aeolian. And this is just extra. Something like that. But really, if I'm playing just the regular, or whoa, I hit a C sharp there for some funny reason. Alright, so that's the name of that tune. So we know that the S5L is important, but let's look at that S4L again. So you just internalize this. You know what internalize means as opposed to memorize? Not only do you kind of memorize it, but you understand it. It's more important to understand that the S4L is a 4-string pattern, and it starts on the 7. Okay, that's all you really have to remember. And as you know, string shapes go up in fifths. So the 5th of E is that augmented C from the circle. It's just that, it goes the other way than the long pattern circle, but it's still the same thing. The word caged every other letter. So we skip a letter here. E, skip D, start caged again. We got C, we got a 5th there. C, skip A, we go to G, we got his 5th there. G, skipped E, we got that D, the end of the caged word, we have a 5th there. So the thing you'll be familiar with, sure, there's an S2L sitting right in the middle there, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 root, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 root. I mean, it could be argued that we would start we could start that C long pattern on an S2L, just like we start the short pattern on an S2L. Alright, but then it would change the pattern from there. We'd have to do a single, here's our S3L, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 root. We'd have to do a single D shape leading into that S3XL. It can be done. That's the way I was looking at it before, but I found out it was easier if we're dealing with long patterns. Let's just stick to the S3L, S4L, and the S3XL. So this is your home base right here for long patterns. And don't forget, long patterns means you're not going to go below the fret nut. So if I'm playing an A, and I mean a real A, A, C sharp, E, A, okay? If I want to do the short pattern, I have to get below the fret nut here. Okay, down here my A is really an F because it's 2 whole steps below A. I can only do a long pattern from down here. Okay, so you pretend there's a fret nut here where yours are. When I get my capo back, When I get a new capo, I'll be using that.